On today's iCaveDave Express, Siri Security, will iPhone ever get its own version of DEX, and iPhone 15 cable leaks? I'm iCaveDave and I simplify Apple so that everything just works for you, and if you want the latest Apple news, leaks and rumours, like the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell. And yes, this is going to be a rapid fire show. We have just some questions from the community. Didn't do a show yesterday because Mark Gurman decided to take the day off, so we had nothing to talk about. The whole Apple ecosystem, it seems, just stops when Mark takes the weekend off. So the first question today comes from Rob Lincoln, and he asks, "Hey Dave, I have never used Siri. I've always thought it's kind of creepy to have a live mic on in the house, but I think Siri might make Apple Watch more functional, especially for thick-fingered gumbers like myself. What are your thoughts on Siri? Is it useful? Is it secure? And can it understand your peculiar British way of speaking in the English language?" How dare you, Rob? But yeah, just to allay some of your concerns, pretty much I think now you can set up Siri so it exclusively does everything on device. Now it does limit some of what it can actually do, but pretty much the vast majority of what Siri does is local to you. It's not a device that is listening to you from another country. It's not doing any of that stuff, and it is very useful. So I use Siri for things along the lines of, and remember now with iOS 17 we don't need the hey word before it. I use it for a lot of stuff, especially in the car. That's a huge use that I use for it. It's playing music, navigation, all that sort of stuff with CarPlay in my kind of work BMW, which is great. However, you do have to be kind of obviously make sure you keep your attention on the road. But at home, yes, in the HomePod, very, very useful. With Apple TV, it does only activate when you hold that button on the side of the remote, so that gives you kind of a little bit more peace of mind if that is something that you're worried about. All of the analysis works on device now, all the machine learning stuff, and I do find it really useful for basic stuff, checking the weather, all that kind of stuff. I don't really use it for huge amounts of stuff, but that's where it gets used by me. Carl Lake asks, iCave answers, with the potential for faster chips, Thunderbolt and side loading, how far are we from seeing a virtual desktop with full PC OSs on the iPhone? Imagine just plugging in your iPhone into a dock and running a full OS on screens, keyboard and mouse. Doesn't seem that far away to me. I don't think Apple's got any intention of doing this. I do think that they could. Side loading is still not going to be a mainstream thing. It's not going to be something that is there for everyone to use. I think it's more likely, I've always said that Apple TV is kind of the best way into this for people, where your iPhone would essentially become the brain for your Apple TV, and you AirPlay your display over to there. The iPhone can already basically do all of these things, but when we're talking about a full desktop operating system, do you mean in terms of multi-window support, things like that? We've only just got that on the iPads and the iPad Pros, which use the same chips as the Mac, so I don't think there's any intent at this point for Apple to do that. As I say, side loading I think is going to be very much a sporadic thing. I don't think it's going to be hugely popular. I think Thunderbolt is going to be far more for data transfer than any sort of hookups to, because otherwise then you need to have some sort of a desktop setup that you're going to kind of use with it. I think anything that Apple did would be wireless. I think you could potentially use your iPhone as a trackpad quite easily, and then just swap it over to a keyboard if you needed to use that, if you didn't have a separate keyboard. That would be my thoughts. I don't think, although Samsung DEX is a thing that exists, I would be surprised if more than like 3 or 4% of the people that own a Samsung phone have ever used DEX, even probably know that DEX is an option. I just don't feel like that's the way that people want to use their phones. I think there are a small handful of enthusiasts who probably do, and it would be lovely to have the option, but Apple doesn't do stuff where it would be lovely for a very small minority to have an option to do something kind of power usery. They do the stuff that the mainstream wants in general, because that's how you sell way more phones than anyone else. And Team Kinetics asks, iCave answers, what do you think about the rumour that the iPhone 15 will come with a colour matching braided charging cable? I'm still jealous that my M1 Pro 14-inch MacBook Pro didn't get one, but my partner's M2 MacBook Air did. Yeah, mine got one of those as well. It's really nice. So here's the thing, I'm not convinced that these are for iPhones, if I'm completely honest. The pictures that were put out, Manjin Boo is a pretty reliable source, but I think sources most of his information from Weibo, and it's other people that have posted stuff that he then collects and sort of interprets. I think I could be wrong, and if that is not the case, then please do correct me. But I think that's probably the case, and having had a look at the images that have come out, number one, these things are really grubby, so I don't think they're any kind of ready for production, ready to go into boxes kind of things. So I think they're probably either test pieces or something along those lines. Maybe they've been used for durability testing or something along those lines. Now, we will almost certainly be getting a USB-C to USB-C type of cable coming with these devices, and it does make sense that they would sell you know, braided ones with them, because braided ones have been coming with a lot of other devices, MagSafe cables, and it might make sense that Apple is using this USB-C transition to do that. There were some comments underneath the tweet that said it looks quite thick, which suggests to me that it may well be a Thunderbolt cable. But there's something else that uses braided cables in these kind of colours, and that would be the iMac. And we are of course expecting that the iMac is going to be re-released, or kind of updated at least, later this year in multiple colours. The interesting one there is that we've got a black, and that might suggest that we are potentially going to be getting darker colours on our iMacs potentially. That's something that I think with the M3 generation might be something they're doing. They got a lot of feedback about the colour schemes on the iMac, and that's surely something that's reasonably easy for Apple to address, but it might explain why they took the year off with M2 to kind of make sure that those bezel colours and everything else worked properly, that the aluminium finishes wouldn't be damaged easily on the backs, you know, that kind of thing. So that's my thought, is potentially these could be the cables actually for the iMac, because the iMac would be coming with a USB-C to USB-C cable for the new keyboards, the new mice, the new trackpads that would be coming with them. They currently already come with a braided colour matched lightning cable. Moving over to USB-C also makes sense. So that's a potential. I'm not saying it's either one, it could be both, it could be neither, but that's my thoughts. So this is, as I say, a shorter video today, but thank you so much for watching, guys. If you've got a question for me in a future video, hashtag iCaveAnswers down in the comment section. I've got some really cool accessories that we're going to be doing some updates to Project 91, which is my M1 powered Macintosh Classic, and potentially getting some audio in there as well, because at the moment it's usually using the internal speaker or a Bluetooth speaker, which is not as great. Thank you for watching. Thank you to the Patreons. Of course, as always, you can join them at iCaveDave.com/Patreon. Thank you for watching. See you later. Want the latest Apple news, leaks and rumours? Subscribe and ring the bell.